You are sitting in a coffee shop, the steam from your latte curling into the air, when a stranger sits at the table next to you. Within 3 minutes, they have told you about their divorce, their chronic pain, and the crushing weight of their loneliness. You didn't ask. You didn't invite it. But you listened. You nodded. And now, as they walk away, you feel a sudden, hollow exhaustion in your chest, as if you've just run a marathon while standing still. You wonder why this happens to you. Why do the wounded always find you? Why does your presence seem to act as a beacon for those who are drowning? It feels like a curse. But here is the truth that will change how you see yourself forever. You are not a magnet for broken people because you are weak. You are a magnet because your nervous system emits a frequency of safety that the traumatized brain recognizes before the conscious mind even speaks. That is not a flaw. That is biological resonance. If this channel has helped you understand yourself even a little better, please hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find this content who need it. Your support allows us to keep these deep dives coming for those who are ready to heal. Let's dismantle the myth that you attract chaos because you lack boundaries. While boundary work is essential, the initial pull is far more primal. Think of your empathy not as an emotional sponge, but as a lighthouse in a storm. Ships don't crash into lighthouses because the light is faulty. They crash toward it because it is the only stable point in the dark. Here's what most people misunderstand. The broken person isn't consciously hunting you. Their subconscious is scanning for co-regulation. When someone has experienced significant trauma or neglect, their nervous system is stuck in a state of hyperarousal or shutdown. They are biologically desperate for regulation. When they encounter an empath, their mirror neurons fire in response to your calm, your attentiveness, and your capacity to hold space. They feel seen. They feel safe. And in that moment of safety, they dump their unprocessed pain onto you, mistaking your compassion for a contract to carry their burden. This leads us to the first major sign. You become the overfunctioner in relationships where you should be equals. You notice that you are doing the emotional labor, the planning, the checking in, and the soothing. You might think you're just being helpful, but psychologically, you are engaging in a dynamic called projective identification. The other person projects their inability to cope onto you, and you unconsciously accept it because your identity is tied to being the healer. Here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about kindness. It's about control. By managing their emotions, you are trying to manage your own anxiety about abandonment or conflict. You believe that if you can just fix them, if you can just love them enough, they will stay. But this creates a parasitic loop. You are drained, exhausted, and empty, while they remain stagnant, relying on your energy to function. That is not love. That is codependency disguised as devotion. The second sign is your profound intolerance for silence or emotional distance. When the other person pulls back, even slightly, your body goes into alarm mode. Your heart rate spikes. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, goes offline, and your amygdala takes over. You start scanning for clues. Did I say something wrong? Are they angry? Do they hate me? This reaction is rooted in early attachment wounds. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional or unpredictable, you learned to read micro-expressions to survive. Now, as an adult, you are hyper-vigilant. But here is the twist. The broken people you attract often have avoidant or disorganized attachment styles. They crave intimacy but fear engulfment, so they pull close, absorb your warmth, and then retreat to regulate their own fear. You chase, they run. This dance is paralyzing. It leaves you feeling shattered and confused, questioning your own reality. But understand this: their retreat is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their incapacity to sustain intimacy without losing themselves. Third, and perhaps most painfully, you are often attracted to people who resemble the primary caregiver who failed you. This is not coincidence. It is repetition compulsion. Your psyche is trying to rewrite the ending of your childhood story. You choose partners who are emotionally unavailable, narcissistic, or deeply wounded because subconsciously you believe that if you can heal this person, you will finally heal the child within you who couldn't heal their parent. Here's a fun fact that genuinely blew my mind. Neuroscience shows that the brain seeks familiarity over happiness. A chaotic relationship feels right to a nervous system raised in chaos because it is predictable in its unpredictability. Peace, on the other hand, feels boring or even suspicious. You might find yourself dismissing healthy, stable partners because they don't trigger that familiar adrenaline rush of anxiety and relief. You are not broken for feeling this pull. You are human. But you must recognize that you cannot heal your past by recreating it in your present. Now, here's the part that makes this genuinely dangerous to certain people. When you consistently save others, you erode your own sense of self. You begin to define your value solely by your utility. If you are not fixing, soothing, or absorbing, you feel invisible. This is the trap of the savior complex. It looks noble from the outside, but internally it is a form of self-abandonment. You are teaching the world that your needs are secondary. You are signaling that your boundaries are permeable. And unfortunately, predators, narcissists, and energy vampires are experts at reading these signals. They don't see a person. They see a resource. They see a battery that never runs out. They will take until there is nothing left. And when you finally collapse, burned out and destroyed, they will often discard you, claiming you were too much or too sensitive, gaslighting you into believing that your exhaustion was your fault. This is cognitive dissonance at its most brutal. You gave everything, and you are blamed for having nothing left to give. So how do we break this cycle? We must reframe empathy. Empathy is not about merging with another's pain. It is about witnessing it without being consumed by it. Imagine you are a mountain. The weather changes around you. Storms rage, winds howl, rain pours. But the mountain remains. It does not try to stop the storm. It does not absorb the rain into its core structure. It simply exists, solid and unmoving. That is the shift you must make. You must move from being a sponge to being a container. A container holds space, but it has walls. It has structure. This requires what I call compassionate detachment. You can care deeply without carrying the weight. You can listen without solving. You can love without saving. This is where the real danger begins for the manipulator. When you stop performing emotional labor, they lose their fuel source. They may escalate, they may anger, but you must hold the line. That is not coldness. That is sovereignty. And here is the truth nobody tells you.
Your sensitivity is not a liability to be managed. It is a superpower to be protected. The reason you feel everything so deeply is because you are connected to the fabric of human experience in a way most people are not. You are the canary in the coal mine, sensing toxicity before it becomes visible. You are the healer, not because you must fix everyone, but because your presence reminds others of their own humanity. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot light the way for others if you are burning yourself alive as the fuel. Healing is not about becoming less sensitive. It is about becoming more selective. It is about realizing that your peace is more important than their comfort. It is about understanding that saying no to others is often saying yes to your own survival. You are not responsible for the wounds of the world. You are only responsible for how you tend to your own. You have spent years believing that your ability to feel was a mistake. Today, I want you to see it as your greatest strength, provided it is guarded by wisdom. You are worthy of love that does not require you to shrink, to perform, or to bleed. You are worthy of relationships that are reciprocal, not extractive. Walk away from anyone who mistakes your kindness for weakness. Choose peace. Choose yourself. Which of these signs hit the hardest for you? Was it the overfunctioning, the fear of silence, or the repetition of childhood patterns? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and your story might help someone else feel less alone. If this resonated, share this video with one person who needs to hear that their sensitivity is a gift, not a curse. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your heart. Until next time, keep thriving.